Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking About the Big Stuff podcast with Michael Cole and Matthew Cravat. I am Michael Cole.
And I am Matthew Cravat.
We're talking tonight about performative, being performative. And let me explain how we got here.
I feel like it's a sex thing every time you say it.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So I drove by the cigar lounge in Apex, I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago with Sarah. And I said, hey, I really want a stogie. And then Sarah and I was making fun of the cigar shop. I said, can you imagine how bad it smells in there? And then I said, hey, I want, and then I said to Sarah, I said, so I don't have a huge problem with cigar smoking, but I said this to her. I said, because I used to smoke cigars a little bit. But I said
a little bit.
I said, I mean, for like 2 years when I was like 20.
Pick the butts out of the sewer, the sewer gratings where they get stuck in the leaves and smoke those. Just
anyway. So I said to Sarah, I just feel like whenever someone uses the word stogie, they think that that's what a man does. Like, if you say I'm gonna go have a cigar, I don't think twice about it. But if you're like, I'm gonna go have a stogie, it just feels like you're cosplaying as the man you think.
I feel like you can't say it the way you just said it. You need to growl.
Stogie.
I'm gonna have a stogie. I'm gonna go get a stogie. You guys want to get a stogie? We're gonna get a stogie.
And every time I hear that, I think of Christmas Vacation.
Yeah.
Like that is that's the dude who's smoking a cigar, which is annoying because I grew up on a tobacco farm and I smoke some pretty regularly.
There's a comic, a stand-up comic on TikTok and Instagram and all that jazz, Facebook, named Ben Jones, who has just started to go viral because he's been doing stuff about how to beat the buffet, and like major magazines have written articles about his videos about how to beat the buffet, so something's going viral. But as he's been trying to break through, like last year he had a character that was guy with a stogie, and it was like he's a heavyset guy with a thick beard, and he's like, let me tell you about kids today. He does this whole character based around the cigar.
I like that.
And I recommend go check Ben Jones out. His How to Beat the Buffet series is really fun, really good, and it's getting a lot of buzz. Ben Jones comedy.
Ben Jones buzz.
Yeah, so I met him years and years ago. I had a buddy who's a stand-up who was performing.
I knew him before he was locally,
famous. And after his performance, like a day or two, he was here for like 3 or 4 day whatever engagement. He calls me up, my buddy, and goes, "Hey, me and the guy who opened for me the night you were there, and this other guy who's opening for me, and then the headliner, because my friend was like the feature, are going out to the pit for barbecue. Do you want to come?" And I was like, "Cool, but I got my son all day. Can he come?" I was like, "Yeah." And Jacob was like 13, so we went. I don't know where Madhavi and the other kids were. I had Jacob with me, and we went. And as an improviser, they let me hang out with them, the stand-ups. And Ben was the other comedian who I had not met because he wasn't there the night I was there, but we met at lunch. Cut to 10 years later, taking Joseph to see Weird Al, and we're like 5th online because that's how I roll, waiting to go in, and like 2nd online is Ben and his wife. So I sneak a picture of them and then post it to his comedy page on Facebook, tagging him. And his phone dings. He looks down at his phone and he goes, "What the fuck?" And so he's looking around and he sees me. He goes, "I had lunch with you once." It's really fun because I chat with him all the time on TikTok, but TikTok, it isn't me. It's Loose Stools. So he doesn't know. Like he knows. Let's not that.
I love it.
Yeah, we've met, but you don't know who I am. And it's like he'll never.
What a way to open.
Know.
Oh, we've met. You just don't know who I am.
Yeah. We've met, but you weren't conscious at the time.
We've met, but you weren't
my friend.
There.
You're such a cute snorer.
I don't know, Mike, I don't know if you ever met Todd, this weird guy who was from the field at BMRU. He was a field guy, like he was in occasionally. But he's the kind of guy he's in from the field like once every 6 months, whatever. He comes over, gives me a hug, and then whispers in my ear, "You smell different when you're awake."
I like that. That's actually good.
So I worked with this guy. He was like my age, and I was 25 at the time, and his first shift. So he's 6'3" or 4, really jacked, muscular black guy with like shoulder length dreads, and he comes up behind me while I'm working, and he whispers in my ear, you ever had your salad tossed by a man? And I just turn around and I go, what?
So anyway, what are we talking about today?
Oh, that's great.
Performative.
Stogies. People who talk about
Performative
stogies as if
stogies.
it's a manly thing to talk
so we
about.
talked about like that
Oh, yeah.
that like cosplay sense of like I am a man, but I need to perform like a man. And then we, in the last week or two, we talked
Yeah.
about 20 somethings because we both have cousins that are 20 somethings, and we are witnessing what I think we probably all went through, but I don't know that you realize when you're doing it, which is 20 somethings are in a lot of 20 somethings, not all 20 somethings, are in that state of I'm an adult and I have to act like an adult. I have to do
Yeah.
certain.
These days they use their own word, adulting. They're adulting. Yeah.
And by 30, when you get into your 30s, you're like, yeah, I'm a fucking adult. And by 40s, you're like, I don't give a shit what you think if I'm an adult or not. I just get to live life. And
Well, I will say I'm a Gen X. I've had that attitude since I was 8.
sure, but I like the reason I say
But
it.
yeah, I get you though.
Is that there is like this sense of like, especially, I'm in my 40s, Sarah's in her late 30s, and when you're talking to 20 somethings, they are so like, well, I've done this, and this, and I have a mortgage or whatever, and I'm doing this, and we're like, yeah,
Go you.
all right,
Yeah, we all do.
and
I'm not trying to be rude. Go you.
yeah, and it's just like, okay, you're gonna find that this is exhausting and not rewarding whatsoever to talk about. And I just was, between those two things, the stogies and the like, I'm an adult. Like, it's just kind of like, okay, like, how much are we performing who we are? Like, I know that we talk about it, we talk about, like, especially gender performance. We talk about that a lot when it comes to, trans rights and stuff. And, like, people talk about gender affirming care and things like that. And a lot of times the counter to, like, when someone who is anti-trans rights, they'll talk about like, well, there's plenty of cis gender affirming care, but there's also a lot of cis gender performance going on, whether it's male or female. And there's lots of it. And I'm sure if we were to like really self-examine, we're all guilty of some of it in some way. But I thought that it was like it was worth us talking about. I also thought it, even though last week was a chill week, I thought this isn't the most stressful topic in the world. Let's let's not talk about stuff that's going to get us killed again. So
Again, right.
Unless the Cuban cigar cartel is like, these guys are making fun of our stogies.
These guys over here need a visit. We're gonna pay him a visit.
That's my Cuban cigar accent.
I'd like you to meet my little friend.
My little friend. I really believe that the feel that I need to be performative has definitely reduced as I've gotten older. So I don't like you were saying, when I was an adolescent, I wanted to appear like I was a 20 something, 30 something with kids and everything. Like I wanted all that. Now that I'm in my 40s, I'm like, I don't want any of that shit.
I remember being
and
like,
so,
sorry, I was going to add on to what you were just saying, but I remember being like 14 years old or 15 years old and kids like coming up and being like shaking hands and like and being like, hey, I'm Mike, and like at a little age it's cute, right? If you have like a 5-year-old that goes up to another 5-year-old and is like, hi, I'm Bill, like that's cute. But if you're like 14, 15, it's like, all right, guys, we're like, what are we doing here? Like shaking hands, like
that's the age I was most performative, but it was like trying to get laid. 15 through 18, 19, like until you were getting laid regularly, when it was like a rare occasion that you got like. My big thing when I was that age was going to Philadelphia area for music festivals, and my father performed at, and just some were just user-generated content, for lack of a better term. Like it wasn't a big concert; it was everyone performing and doing workshops and stuff.
Yeah,
and so there's all these nice hippie chicks from that are children of folk musicians like me from Philly, because I'm coming from Brooklyn, and I was very performatively acting like my best friend Jack, the tough Italian Brooklyn guy, instead of the nerdy Jewish Brooklyn guy, to play the role of a Brooklynite, because sometimes it got me a girl to make out with for the weekend and later to sleep with for the weekend. So like playing the role of the tough Brooklynite rather than the nerdy Brooklynite was a good call. I was doing God, what's his name? Oh, you're the Mike who played all of Woody Allen's best friends and Woody Allen's best friend in every movie. He always had the cool, very waspy best friend who was a good, successful businessman while he was being the nerdy guy. So I was like,
Alan Alda?
No.
I like Alan Alda though.
But it was pretty much like that. Instead of I was playing the put together cool guy. I was playing Vinnie Barbarino instead of Horshack, which
I was going to say Vinnie Barbarino.
I was being very performative when I'd be at those things. When Jacob was
as
young,
well,
Jacob did this thing, Odyssey of the Mind. I don't know if you guys know what that is.
That is what it is. It's Odyssey of the Mind.
That's what I thought it might be.
that.
It sounded like Odyssey of the Mind. So Jacob did that, and they were doing a dinosaur-related thing. And towards the end, as a social get-together, Jacob suggested they all watch his favorite movie, Jurassic Park. And Jacob was, I think, 5th grade, and the rest of them were, like, I think, 4th graders. But Jacob is young for, his birthday's in September. So he's, like, the youngest in the 5th grade. He's more to the 4th grader's age.
Yeah.
And didn't realize that that's a horror movie to kids that age, except Jacob had been watching it for years.
Right.
And all the kids were literally hiding behind couches, like holding pillows up and gnawing on them, terrified. While Jacob, like, isn't this awesome?
Isn't this great?
Logan's in 4th grade, and I think him and all his guy friends, at least, would be fine with Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
but
the little more conservative kids in our house were not so fine with it. Which is whoops, that was our realization. Jacob is not being raised the way the other kids are. Like, we didn't realize. We just know what we're doing. We don't know what other people are doing.
This is how you know.
I want so bad to show up to one of these Odyssey of the Mind things with like white face paint and a beret and like a striped shirt and be like, I thought it was Odyssey of the Mime. But
a mime is a terrible
Yep.
So you know what I don't like about performative stuff? I don't like fake performative.
Mm-hmm.
In that when it's not performative, but people think it is, which usually these days is accusations of virtue signaling.
Or me calling everybody that says a stogie as a performative thing could very well be what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, but the assumption that it is performative or it is virtue signaling when no, I mean it. So it's like if I'm like, so
okay,
it's like when people accuse you of so you said things like Happy Pride. I'm so excited that Pride is here, and you did it, and so we're like, that's so when there's you slap a rainbow on your logo as a company.
Yeah.
Are you a company that is really committed to pride and to celebrating the LGBTQIA community, and that's why you're doing it to support them, or is it performative and you're just doing it because we'll get shit if we don't?
Yeah, your company's very gay for 1 month.
It's hard to know which it is. So like my Triangle Free Thought, my group, we have a rainbow version of our logo that we use during Pride Month, and even during like this time of year when Duke does their Pride and Wake Forest did their Pride this weekend. So we'll use it like during things of that time because it's a local Pride month, even though it's not the June one. And like brochures that we have versions with the Pride logo that we give away at Pride and stuff like that. But we are very committed to the LGBTQIA community. Yeah. We're very committed to one of our reasons to fight for separation of church and state is to protect that community that's being beaten down.
Yeah.
Like the Supreme Court's about to say it's okay to torture people, to try to torture children, to try to stop them from being gay.
Jesus
so like, that's
Christ.
one of the things we fight for. So it's not performative when we do it. We do it to show solidarity and to support and to say we are a safe space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I get that when Pepsi does it, maybe it's not. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. So that's a frustration.
We need Pepsi right now. We need Pepsi and Kendall Jenner to lower the temperature in all of this fight.
So I've probably been what you were just describing, Matthew. I've probably been guilty of before, because for example, in our most recent episode that we filmed, I was talking about, it's okay if I do those things, but I don't like them done for me. And it's very much the same thing. Like, I'll just be nice for folks and help a dude out. Like when we were on our way back at the airport, there was a dude sitting at the bar with us who had a hard time like getting his new battery thing to start working, and he was trying to charge something. And I'm like, I know this dude's about to be on a plane and has no way of having this thing powered. So I came up and offered him my battery because I knew it was topped up. And he's like, oh, no, I'm fine. And then as we were leaving, he was like gesturing towards my wife and I and talking to the bartender. And I was like, is he bitching about someone offering him something? asshole. But I was like, I should be allowed to do that, but I would really not want anyone else to.
Yeah.
So I've probably been guilty of those random acts of kindness being taken, like I'm doing it for feel goods on my part, when genuinely I'm doing it just because I want a little bit of a dopamine hit and I want to feel like I did the right thing. That's all.
I would
So,
say
yeah.
I would say that I might have been guilty of it today. Because
Ooh.
today is
Was that when you shut me in the closet and said I couldn't come out till later?
Yeah. No.
Oh,
No,
okay.
today's if you're watching live, you know this, but if you're not watching live, today is Indigenous Peoples Day, which I
Yeah,
believe
unless you're Trump.
I was gonna say, which I believe the Trump administration, unfortunately, is
Rebranding back to Columbus Day
Yeah.
from their point of view for the federal holiday wise.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, I would like to, on my book, on my author Instagram, I'd like to share something. So I was like, I'd love, like I've been, I want to post things. I also want to post less things about my book than I have been, because I don't want it to be all like, salesy. So I was like, oh, what if, I came up with something, but then so the first thing that I thought of was like, what could I post? So I said, I was like, oh, I'd love to post something, for Book Talk, Bookstagram, about, to support Indigenous Peoples Day. And I was like, but I don't have anything. Like, the one book that I haven't read yet, and it's not by an Indigenous author. It's the Killers of the Flower Moon. And I was like, well, I can't really share that because that will be performance. So I was just like, I'm not, like, I don't know what to do. And then I saw a bunch of people post. So I started seeing some people who had actually shared some very meaningful ones. And I'm like, why don't I just repost like, you hit the repost button.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wanted to be supportive of it, but I also like, I don't know much about it. So I like, cause I
so let me just amplify the voice that knows what they're talking about.
Exactly.
So, and I think that's also where, like, to my point before, that's where people who are adversarial to you and to your viewpoint might come in and say, you're just virtue signaling. You're just virtue signaling by just repeating what they said.
Exactly.
And to me, I'm like, you're virtue signaling if you don't mean to do something good. If you're just doing it so you look good, that's virtue signaling. If you're doing it because, no, I have a platform, I want to reshare something that's probably more intelligent than I would say, and I do support you, and I want you to know I support you. That's not a bad virtue signaling. That's
right.
Wanting to share. And there's no way you can know what someone else's motive is without lots of detective work and whatever, and figure out that your words don't match your actions, kind of thing. So I think there's a lot of projection that goes on. I wouldn't mean it if I said it. Like, when I say that stuff, I don't.
Yeah.
And I always find that I'll say, it's a person wearing a MAGA hat, a Trump shirt, trunk socks, and a trunk butt plug up their ass that is saying, oh, you're just virtue signaling by wearing that on your T-shirt, when they're just covering virtue signaling for their side.
Yeah. And I agree with you. And I think that there's like a lot of people who have that same mentality of like, yeah, you say what you got to say to sell things. And I we're witnessing those people be proven right to some degree. Like I watched a video today on Instagram. I forget which Instagrammer it was. It was a black person talking about white artists who use black culture to become famous, and now that in Trump era have like really toned it back. So he used the example of Justin Timberlake. He's like, Justin Timberlake's newest album, and he's like, these people don't hate black people. They just are like kind of like leaving us out to dry a little bit. And he's like, he said, you use Justin Timberlake's the album that's like Tennessee. It looks like a country music cover, and he's like, the music's still the same R&B stuff we've always been getting from him, but the aesthetic is way more like white friendly, like. And then he's like,
Middle America,
Miley Cyrus, even
more pop radio appropriate.
What's the guy with all the tattoos? Not specific.
Justin Bieber.
No. Post Malone.
Yeah.
Like, he came out as a rapper, and
It's from Salt
literally,
Lake City. Come on.
I didn't know that.
Or he
Damn,
lives there.
Matthew, you know a lot.
Well, when my company was pushing people to move to Salt Lake City, that was one of the pros of Salt Lake City.
Post Malone's here.
We have one celebrity, Post Malone.
But
Oh no, they have celebrities. It's just not the ones that a pharmaceutical company might be talking about.
That's when I was in diagnostics.
Anyway, so they were talking about that, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that is true." And like all of those, Miley Cyrus, Post Malone, there was another person I'm forgetting. They were all kind of timed with their like retreat back into white culture was pretty much 2016 and like onward, like going into the Trump era. And it's like, oh yeah, like it was really cool for white people to try to be or to like act like they wanted to be part of the black community 20 years ago, but in the last 10 years it's become a little significantly less cool.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you the opposite that I was just talking to Leah about either this morning or yesterday. In the 70s, there was a thing of female pop singers becoming famous as country singers and then becoming pop singers. Olivia Newton-John, Sheena Easton were country music singers, and then once they had big albums and had big audiences, suddenly Olivia Newton-John singing Physical and doing Xanadu, and all her music became pop music, and no more country music was out the window. Sheena Easton, she was doing duets with Kenny Rogers, and once she was popular, next album, all pop music.
T Swizzy did that too.
Yeah. And the flip side was also like your Cyndi Lauper. Like her first songs were just real bubblegum garbage pop music.
Yeah.
And then sweet, tender ballads once she had the authority to sing them. She had the audience. She started doing what she'd rather do, which was much better, in my opinion, musically, than what she got famous for.
I have like very little
So
problem.
Girls Just Want to Have Fun, Alex, since you're going from Girls Just Want to Have Fun to Time After Time. Like that kind of thing, or True Colors. Like she started with this bubblegum and then went to really pretty pop song, really pretty ballads afterwards.
Yeah.
I have no problem with genre switching, or dabbling even. Like I don't like. I think that there is like
I've heard you dabble.
Yeah. But I think, there's a way to do it responsibly.
Well, there is, and that doesn't have the performative feel when your goal is to entertain.
Yeah.
The performative feel is definitely when you're doing something well outside of character or brand.
Yeah.
And then in the case of entertainment, like grifty hopping from thing to thing that's catching on. So, I think, for example, if you had, if Man, I Feel Like a Woman was never a popular song, I bet you she would have switched away from a country style sound faster. But that song hit, and she can get played in country and western bars. She can have a line dance, but then also can get on pop radio.
Yeah.
So there's some crossover there, but that's entertaining. If you hold the door for a bunch of black people because you feel bad because it's a specific day of the month, that's a little different.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah. So I mean, the big thing in the modern Trump era, that occurs to me is DEI, right?
Oh,
so everybody had DEI programs.
Didn't
and then
earn
away when
it.
Trump was against it, places like Target and Aldi, we stopped shopping both those places because they took down their DEI pages instantly.
Oh.
Yeah.
But we don't know why they did. Like, we don't know if it was performative and they really could care less about DEI, or if it was a business decision of we're committed to this, but having it on our website and promoting it is going to lose us a bigger chunk of business and get us more attention and heat from the government that we don't want, and we'd rather lose the people. Like, you don't know
that's
which
performative
it is, right?
in its own way, though.
Right. They're doing performative the other way to protect the business. But like I know, like at Glaxo Vive, that we had a town hall meeting right away when the executive order came out about DEI programs and said, we are a huge supplier to government, like, veteran, the VA hospital and stuff like that. We have contracts. We have to follow the executive order. We can't have a DEI program. And then it was like,
that's understandable.
But then the president like waved like a beat, and she goes, so be on the lookout for a new program with a different name. Because I can't have a DEI program. Because our values haven't changed. Our commitments haven't changed. The value that we see in diversity, equity, and inclusion doesn't go away because someone doesn't like the name. So we'll find a different way to talk about it when we talk about it, and we may talk about it less,
Yeah.
but our commitment has not changed.
That's all fair.
So-
That's important. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if either of you caught it, but I posted a video last week.
No, I got vaccinated from it, so I didn't catch it.
Good. Last week was banned book week, and
I saw that.
My
Yep.
my school, not my school, Logan School, had a meeting with parents to like whoever wanted to come in and participate to help, because there's a statewide mandate that all schools catalog all the books in the school and make it available to the public. And we were talking about all the rules that fall into that, and we were doing the same thing that you just kind of said, Matthew, which is we were brainstorming about how do we get around this. Not that we're gonna be able to get out of it entirely, but like, for example, one of the rules is that if you're a teacher and you have a shelf in your class that has, Jill has two moms or whatever, then that list will not only be part of the, like, this school has this list, but it'll be like, Matthew's class has this, and it'll be
Specifically.
and
yeah.
that's not, and when they say public, it's not like me as a parent. It would be either of you two could find that information as a non-parent of a kid in the school. And so we were like, how do we get around that part? Because we don't want teachers to feel like, oh, I could get doxxed and be in danger from having some books in my class. How, so they're one of the solutions that some of the teachers had talked about is like, I might just not have books in my class, which is a very, which I understand from their perspective, but is a very bad
the
solution.
Goal. They want to destroy education to make
They
you
want to destroy
afraid
it,
to have any books in the class is part of the goal.
So, like, one of my suggestions to the board, to the group that was met on last week, was like, what if we put bookshelves outside their door, like literally outside the classroom
in the
door,
hallway,
and then it's
like little libraries in downtown.
The public would know,
the
public would know the school has those books, but they wouldn't know Matthew's class has those books or Alex's class has those books. And it's like, because it's not going to solve the problem altogether, but it will make teacher A not feel like they're going to end up.
So ironically, it means say, okay, it's going to be in the second grade hall room because it's a second grade quality book. But now a kindergartner might go down the hall and be exposed to that book where they wouldn't have been if it would have been in the classroom. It ends up doing the opposite of what the book banners want to do.
That was part of the thing that came up too, was like, elementary schools go from like kindergarten up to fifth grade, some cases older, and it's like, okay, you've got a book that is okay for the fifth graders or the fourth or fifth graders. That doesn't mean it's okay for the kindergartners. And now you're just submitting that list to everybody. And it's like, well, we need like, I don't have a problem as much with the list going out to parents so they could say like, hey, I don't want my kindergartner reading this fifth grade book. That's fine. But I really have a problem with, like, Alex decides he's got a bug up his butt about it, and he's like, no kid should be reading. And so, we've worked around, like,
Catcher in the Rye, whatever, Yeah.
Well, I don't know that Catcher in the Rye should be in elementary school. I'm not against it necessarily.
It shouldn't.
But I only read it once. But
that's not age appropriate for elementary school. That's
it isn't.
Late middle school, definitely high school.
Yeah.
Or New York elementary school, because
Well,
if you judge things by the society it's in, the language on that is fine for elementary school.
Yeah.
This is true. I like so if you were to look at individuals maybe taking action based on finding that, Mrs. Smith's class has a specific book about Roger has two moms. Kid wouldn't be named Roger, would he? David has two moms.
What's wrong with Roger? Roger Young happens to be our biggest supporter on Patreon.
Yeah.
Don't be mean to Roger.
Let's not bite the hand
to have as many moms as Roger can get.
As many as he wants. So I really think that the performative actions of those individuals falls into my category of extremism is always bad. It doesn't matter the intention. But at the same time, if you have...
That statement's extreme, and I disagree with it. Like, I think extremism in the way that you mean, I understand what you're saying, but I think that like kindness, like there, extremism within kindness, or there's plenty of extreme, like where if you go to the utmost degree of certain good things, I don't think it's a problem.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
I was mostly just
At the
trying
same,
to be an asshole.
no. Well. I mean, you succeed at that on a regular basis. This is more of a situation where extreme actions. How about that? Extreme points of view. Nah, cool. Extreme actions, completely different kettle of fish, bucket of worms, whatever. So my real issue is if your company wants to put up Pride for 1 month and then the day after it all turns back to gray, in the case of Matthew saying like the way his company approached the DEI angle or approach the issue. It's not really an issue, but the issue of the way the government was taking issue with it, pivoting that to something else is very much a way that even my wife's former employer did it.
Yeah.
They were thinking, well, we take a lot of government insurance. We can't exactly say we can't do we can't do any kind of care for the trans community, but they kind of had to stop doing some of it for the same reason. They just did it more risky, and because it's paperwork, it couldn't be
You have to bill it as a different
shoved
thing.
into something.
It's
Right,
just
exactly.
a different billing code.
Yeah. So that's more what was being done. So my biggest gripe with performative action is it's really difficult unless you know the person to know the intent.
Right. You don't know if something's performative or not. And like a lot of accusations of performative are kind of like, if I were saying that, I wouldn't really mean it. So it must be performative when you're saying it, because why would you mean it if I wouldn't?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very true. And that's frustrating because I want to trust people. I want to see someone do something nice and be like, oh, no, they're totally chill. But if the two of you did something, I'm not going to look at it the same than some other bearded 40-year-old out in public did it. I'm going to be like, whoa, hey, what the fuck? Stop. No, don't hold that door for me, you weirdo.
Yeah.
But
because that's how I...
Yeah, I mean, I get it, because you can look at like an atheism versus a believer debate online and be like, this person, this, atheist person is hashtagging you with all the right hashtags and this, and quoting Sagan and quoting Hitchens, but he's just a keyboard warrior. You're not doing anything good, but you don't know if that person is just that person who does nothing, or if it's me who's the president of an organization and going out and doing stuff and meeting with political people. Like, you can't tell from what I type which person I am, performative or performing.
Sure.
Good example. Recently, we've actually criticized this before. The Surrounded series that's done on
Jubilee.
Jubilee. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Recently had Andrew Callahan on, and I am a big fan of Andrew Callahan's work. I have been for a long time, way back before when he was when his shit was on HBO.
He's the guy that's on Bill Maher's show a lot, right? Oh no.
No. Andrew Callahan is the dude that's Channel 5 News. He's big curly head of hair, and his episode was conspiracy theorists, and it was difficult to go into the comments and then see people say, oh, this episode turned into he debunks a bunch of people to he just has conversations. And then some people were thinking, wow, what a great way to spread information and have it be a way that everybody gets to critically think on their own.
Yeah.
Whereas some folks that have gone on Surrounded, whether I agree with their viewpoints or not, I'm thinking this is just so you can get more podcast views. Like, this has nothing to do with you really believing in this specific cause or information. And I understand Jubilee's job is to entertain. I know that. We've talked about YouTubers are not the news. We're not the news either. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that I want to have to watch that. And like you said, Matthew, they're on a keyboard. How do I know that person is being genuine? I don't know who they are. Yeah. And I've never met Andrew Callahan. But he's not always had the most rosy of reputations. But that doesn't change his investigative work. It doesn't change how he approaches media and information. That's difficult. I'm about to plug my phone in, so you're about...
Yeah.
There we go.
No,
that's not gonna work.
I think that Jubilee is a great example of performer, because I think that you get
it is.
Well, you also get I think that the
You
people
prefer what?
Kitty Pride.
I think that if you look at Jubilee,
That was good.
I think that
That was
the
good.
people who come on as the main, the 1 versus the 20. I understood the
Yes,
joke.
the Surrounded series,
I'm
yeah.
just moving on, Matthew. If you,
I know you're right back to the gangbangs. 1 versus 20. I'm with you.
If you talk about the one person,
Jesus.
all right, my kid is listening to this.
Then you should find a better topic.
I don't care. It's I think there's the famous person versus 20 non-famous people. The
Mhm.
famous person absolutely is there to get some of that like residual,
Yeah.
whatever. But I think that some of them are there because they actually believe in the thing. Mehdi Hassan, who I think is great, was on, and he
Bank.
yeah, but based
Complete opposite. No, hold on. Complete opposite. Mehdi Hassan actively campaigning for his seat and his role in government. Cenk Uygur completely trying to make sure that the Young Turks doesn't bite it and completely lose subscribers because they've had a huge shift
yeah
in their views as a brand.
Yeah.
And the girl, the brunette that got fired, and then Anna completely saying I'm leaving the party, but then still having mostly the same views. And then, for example, Andrew Callahan coming on. He recently did 2 Hunter Biden interviews. Dude ain't hurting for views right now at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
But he's not. But he would have done Surrounded anyway because he's just a cool dude. But again, that's my interpretation of this dude that I've never met.
Right.
Because I've seen so much of his content, and this is an advantage. And I like that Matthew mentioned about you don't know when they're behind a keyboard. I've seen his content barely shift in the method that he covers things. So I haven't seen him completely swap a viewpoint on a specific topic or person or group of people. It's always been consistent. So for someone I've never met, I get to say, you know what? That's probably not performative. That he's talking about immigration during that being a hot button. Like, no, he's talking about it because it's a hot button and he does media. He does news coverage. That's why. It's not because it's going to get clicks and it's going to be hashtagged out the ass in his YouTube description. So, yeah.
What I was going to say is the main person on a Surrounded episode, I think, is less likely to be there for the clout than the other 20 are. So, like the Mehdi Hassan episode, for example,
good point.
Like there is, Mehdi Hassan versus 20 people, a bunch of whom ended up being like coming out almost as like blatant white supremacists. Like
yes, actually, one of them specifically did. The Hispanic-looking guy.
He called himself a fascist. At no point did he really make it about race. Other people made it about race. That's why I'm like because they had differing awful takes.
Yeah,
but like
differing awful takes.
That's my next podcast.
There were some that were like blatantly racist. That guy that was the one that became the most famous as being a fascist. It was like a Christo-fascist, actually a Catholic fascist. And like,
I remember the one you're talking about.
And really didn't say much bad about race at all.
Of Republicans.
Yeah. But like they're all hoping to use that as a launch pad.
Yeah,
and they're willing to, even though
they're willing to sell their soul for it.
I was going to say they're willing to risk their day job. No, because they know 2 things. One is, especially on their side, if they get canceled because they came out and said
it's good
that they're going to be able to start a GoFundMe and they're going to go
give, send, go,
give whatever. I use GoFundMe the way Kleenex, like it's a generic now.
I was using that as a joke that only the Christo-fascists use give, send, go.
Not Kleenex, so I don't know what you're talking about.
You know what I mean.
Well, also give, send, go will usually release your funds even if you don't meet your goal. GoFundMe does not.
Yeah.
So it's even extra grifty.
Yeah. But they'll go ahead because they know that they're going to have that backup.
Cancellation is big money for them.
Yeah,
crying victim is big money for them,
and that's performative too. Because that guy that you're talking about, Alex, he came out and said some awful stuff. He talked about literally like they will kill the people that not him, but he said like a
was like,
an
Jesus.
autocrat will kill the people he doesn't agree with. I'm not worried about it because I won't be in that group. And then he gets canceled, and he's like, it's just speech. And it's like, you just talked about people getting killed for their speech, like, and had no problem with that. But he knows
you can't have both.
He knows that he can launch a career. I mean, I think he's friends. I think he literally is friends with Nick Fuentes. I think they said, and he can also
color me shocked.
He can go on one of those give, send, go, or whatever, and get the backing.
Float me until my YouTube payment comes in because I'm launching the Resistance.
Yeah. And so, like, that is its own form of performative. Like
it is.
Who knows? I mean, unfortunately, I think there's a lot of people who genuinely believe extremist shit, but there's also, I think, a fair amount. Like, we hear shit about, like, Steven Crowder talking backstage about, like, oh yeah, don't worry, I have no problem with trans stuff, and then he goes out and he's a transphobe. Or we hear about a lot of people where it's like, oh, you can drop the act now that we're not on screen.
Yeah. Yep.
And there's plenty of examples.
That usually ends careers. It really does. And folks,
as it should.
I have said it on this podcast before, and I probably even said it on the other content that I do on Choco Diamond Media. The internet never forgets. Everybody has a camera in their pocket, and it's not even a bad one anymore.
Yeah,
stop being stupid. Stop being rude.
The people they are in their professional persona. So, like, there's a classic clip. There's a classic Bill O'Reilly clip, right, where he's talking to David Silverman, who used to be president of American Atheists, and he goes, his gotcha moment that he did on Silverman was like, "Hey, the tide goes in, the tide goes out. Nobody can explain why. You got to believe in God then."
Yeah.
And the what's classic there is David Silverman gave him a look of shock and awe, which became a cartoon version of that, became a meme of his, like, huh look.
Yeah.
And I met Silverman, I talked to him, and he goes, yeah, the reason I had that expression was not how stupid that statement was. It was because O'Reilly and I had been talking for an hour backstage, and he doesn't believe that. He's not stupid.
Wow.
My shock was, I can't believe you're playing this character in front of me when I know that's not who you really are. You're just doing this for your Fox News fan base, and you have them all know that you're a moron like them.
Yeah.
It's like the performativeness there was pretending to be stupid like his audience is.
Yeah.
Yep.
So agreed, but at the same time, it is so much more obvious now. And those like budding or just starting social media influencer set, those are the kind of folks that get their lives ended. I mean, and like Mike said, rightfully so, but at the same time, if you're gonna grift too close to the sun and you're gonna signal too hard, at least be consistent so we all know and can smell it from a mile away. Yeah. Please, I'm an asshole all the time. One of the two of you has worked with me and knows that I'm an asshole all the time. So
I know you're an asshole all the time that we're together.
True.
I don't know if that's all the time. I'm trying to be, as accurate as I can in my reflections.
Look, as long as you join me on the top bunk, we'll be fine. So it's very much a situation where if you're gonna stick to it, stick to it. Don't expect that you're not gonna get caught. Be genuine. There's the better way about performative anything. Be genuine, because you're gonna get sniffed out by somebody when you're not.
All right, so let's start to wrap things up. Maybe like any last thoughts on before we.
So my last thoughts are speaking as a skeptic who wants to increase good use of skepticism and to apply skepticism to this topic, and specifically to the how do you know if someone or some organization is being performative or not being performative. I would ask that we and our listeners make the effort to not prejudge what. Either way, I like this person or organization, so I assume they're being real, or I dislike them, so I assume they're being performative, and look to see, do their actions follow their words?
Yes.
Go the extra mile to do the best you can to confirm, or at least get more evidence to make a more informed decision of whether something is performative or not. Or don't, but know that you don't know. Like some asshole online, like, yeah, I don't know if that's performed or not, and I don't care. Like it doesn't affect anything, so I'm not going to research it. But I'm also
Yep.
not going to commit myself to believing or caring one way or the other if that particular screen name means what they say or not.
Good point. Okay.
That's
No.
my final thoughts of
No,
put a little
yeah.
randomness in
No,
there.
I agree with you completely.
I can track with
and
that.
I will say that like I think that that's completely fair and fairly obvious in a lot of the cases where there's an accusation of this. I think like like what I think it's obvious when people put up a black square and do nothing else. Like we've all seen enough examples of the
Right,
like super
But if you don't
performative.
follow their stuff, you don't know if
Yeah.
they put up a black square and they're
Yeah.
out protesting at the No Kings protest, which is this coming Saturday. Everybody should
Which I will
find
be.
a No Kings protest and go
Yeah.
to it.
Find No Kings.
Yeah.
Find one. They are all over
Triangle
the
Free Thought
country.
Society organized the Raleigh one. I'm just saying I have a bias. That's my bias.
A little
Yeah.
bit of an in, little
We
bit.
organized the Raleigh one this time around. We'll co-organize. We're co-sponsors. There's 3 different groups that we work together.
I just think that I personally don't think this is a hard thing to do your due diligence on, is what I was saying.
It isn't.
Yeah, but take the second to do it. I think a lot of times in the skeptical world, there is things that are not hard to do that we're not trained to do it. We just don't think to.
Yeah.
We jump to our first conclusion because that's what the internet, and that's the way it is now.
Yeah.
To quote
Very true.
our dear friends over at the Puzzle and Thunderstorm.
Yeah. I listened
But,
to
you
a
know-
little bit of God awful movies yesterday with Logan, and he goes, "Have you ever been on this podcast?" I'm like, "No, but I would love
Oh
to."
God.
I'd be all over it. I would be all over it.
We've been on a podcast with Cecil Something Italian. That's close. We're a couple
that's
steps
true.
away.
Adjacent, yes.
I-
and Noah was on that episode, even though he was on
Yeah.
later.
I mean, I've met Noah, Eli, and Heath at a Atheist Con, or 2 different cons. I've met them, but not enough to be on a podcast.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get Noah to come down to next year and be a speaker for TFS stuff. I might try to get him to be a speaker.
that would be amazing.
That would be fantastic.
His dad just passed away, so I'm not approaching him just yet. I'm
Mm,
giving him
yeah,
grieving time before I approach him about business.
Yeah.
But,
It's a good idea.
We'll approach him eventually. But I was thinking a good way to do that research and see if people really follow through is to consume more of the media. So if you're watching this on YouTube,
Like?
what you should probably do is like this video, and so you'll get more videos like it in your feed.
Please.
Subscribe to our page so that you can get all of our videos. Subscribe to all the Chocolate Diamond network of things while you're at it.
Yeah,
So you can get Cinnamon, you can get The Completist, you can get all the things that we at Chocolate Diamond do.
Completist.
It's just incomplete. But,
Completist.
and make sure you ring the notification bell so that you can be the first on your block
Please.
to listen to the
You'll have
things
something
that
to
we
talk
say
about at
and
work.
yeah,
You'll have something to talk about.
And that's all I got to say about that.
yeah. And if
Anything?
you're listening to us, go ahead and give us a plus or a thumbs up or whatever your podcast
Or
app of
stars
choice.
or
And give us
Stars.
reviews
There you go.
if you want to support us beyond.
5 out of
pressing a
7
button.
perfect stars.
You could give us money at patreon.com/talking about the big stuff, where you have 4 options to help us, 3 of which are paid, 1 of which is free. And you can, for $1 a month, you can get all 4 episodes of that month 4 days early. $3 gets you those episodes early and a little bit bonus, like some stuff not cut out. And then the $10 version gets you our, pre-show conversation. And this week it is about how, to get a little spoiler, it's about how Cinnamon is holding up against talking about the big stuff in numbers. And yeah, and so like it's pretty cool.
So we may be changing our format to talk about the stuff that people actually care about instead of the stuff we care about, because we're performative
No.
and we just want eyeballs.
No,
Absolutely not. I will not budge on that. As the producer, I'm not allowing that.
Yeah.
I pay for this privilege.
yeah, no, I agree. I don't want to change it up. I want us to keep doing, and sometimes
I want to keep talking about shit that nobody cares about, because that's who I am. That's what I am in my soul. I'm someone who's so out of step with everybody else that I'm going to talk about what I think is big stuff, and everybody else is like, wah, wah, wah.
All right,
Phil-
Unk.
philosophy and introspection and all those things may not be as popular as The Exorcist, but damn it, they're worth it. And you know what? Unlike
Every time.
unlike Exorcism, the shit we talk about is real.
Very true.
All right.
What do you mean unlike it?
Exorcism. I mean, you can get an exorcism, but it doesn't do shit. I do want to just say while we're hawking our wares.
How
Get it, extra.
I've got a book out that you can get right now. Everything I've got left.
Is that everything I've got left?
Everything I've got left. It's got short stories, poems, and essays. And it's $9.99 on my website, michaelchristophercole.com. And if you want to pre-order The Dinner Party, which is my first novel, it will be out. It'll actually only be out like 2 weeks after this episode drops. If you order it,
it's getting close.
It would basically like ship immediately. And it's getting really good buzz.
So order that shit.
Picking up some sales, so like you could be on board for the beginning.
Yeah, I'm saying Book Talk seems to be reviewing it well. Everyone you've sent it to seems to be loving it.
Yeah. And so hopefully you as an audience will like it. And also you'll be able to see me at certain events. Let me know if there's any events you want me to hit up, and then
fly them out to your country or city.
Yeah, probably city, unless your country's like Italy or something.
I mean, Remy, you still listening?
Right. Hey, Remy.
I'd go to France. Yeah.
Right? I go to France in a minute.
All right, Matthew, any last thought?
I just want to thank everyone for being here talking about the big stuff. And even if you just stayed along because it looks good if you did, we're fine with that.
Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. It's just the beginning. If you have thoughts or questions or topics you'd like us to tackle in a future episode, drop us a line on our social media channels. Engage with this video when you are now watching it as a VOD on YouTube. Send us an email. We love hearing from our listeners, bringing us topics, because if you leave it up to the three of us, we're going to eventually be talking about underwater basket weaving. So we would appreciate you guys reaching out a little bit. Don't forget to subscribe to Talking About the Big Stuff on your favorite platform. Give us a 5-star rating. Engage with it. Criticize us. We need to grow and be better, and you're going to help us be there. You're going to help us get to that point. It really helps us more to reach out and also to keep the conversation going. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next week with more big ideas and more thought-provoking discussions. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and keep talking about the big stuff.
The preceding podcast has been a Chocolate Diamond Media LLC production. Copyright 2023, all rights reserved.